Okay.
I've got a big message that's just come up. I mean, I better continue. There we go.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to start. Okay, so welcome very much, Andy, for coming in today and talking to us. So, you know, it's very interesting, some of the stuff that I've seen online, and I'm not going to really kind of say much. I want you to kind of talk about it. So, tell us about this app that you, or this thing that you've actually kind of produced.
Yeah, sure. Gosh, many moons ago, I decided I wanted to make a game about fish, and it was going to be, I think it was very ambitious project. It was all the way back when I think it was called XNA, Microsoft XNA. They sort of released their own game engine. And I thought that'd be good. I don't have to sort of write an engine. I can sort of try and make something. So I started this idea of like what I call it sort of world fishing, where you go around the world and sort of fish in different locations all over the world, and how great it would be to just escape to somewhere and catch new fish. But the other idea was going to be you keep the fish that you catch and you raise them as pets.
Oh, yeah.
And having worked in the games industry for a while, I have quite a few, good contacts and like good programmers who I sort of would have a beer with, and I'd say, oh, would you fancy working on this game? And I basically got some people involved, and we would work in our spare time on it. And the thing we very rapidly realised was just how much work it was to make a really convincing game where you had these beautiful environments and you had this huge diversity and these special effects. You had to have beautiful water, and everything had to be really sort of beautiful and captivating. At that point, like after about a year of mucking around in our spare time, realising this is going nowhere, we sort of came up with the idea of like, well, maybe we should just focus on keeping the fish, and it should be just pet fish. And of course, probably the best breed or type of fish that would suit this kind of project is koi, the Japanese ornamental koi, because they've got huge variety, and they're quite popular. And of course, there'd been a koi pond app, which was more of a kind of like a fidget sort of app for iPhone when the very first iPhone came out. And all you could do really was just drop a bit of food or hold your finger on the screen, and these 2D sort of koi sprites would come up, and it was very good refractive effects and stuff, and quite nice ambience. And I thought, well, it did really, really well, because there wasn't much to choose when the App Store first came out. So yeah, that's where it sort of started to go. But even then, working on it part-time and with people who sort of aren't being paid, they're just doing it for the love of the app, just didn't go anywhere. And I sort of tried, and I ended up, life came along, and I had kids were born, and I had to focus on maintaining the family and getting the job and everything else. But I didn't lose hope in this idea. It kind of like it just kept on evolving in the background. And there were a lot of technical hurdles actually as well, because one of the things that I really wanted to focus on was procedural generation. I wanted to make sure that every single fish would be unique, and that would be part of the interest of the app, that when you create the fish, that would be probably the thing that you spend most of your time doing, because you wanted to either acquire a new breed, or there was a particular feature of a fish that you really wanted to get, so you would be fiddling and tweaking. And around about that same time, I noticed that Substance Designer was kind of like building up some popularity, and so I I spent lots of time mucking around with that, and found that it was a really good tool for procedural generation. I mean, like you could just hit a random seed and you get random size scales, and like, so I spent hours and hours, weeks even, like tuning and getting it and honing it for koi basically. But like obviously you've also got to make sure it's efficient as well. So I ended up having to then like make sure that it wasn't too computation. So God, I spent so much time doing that. And once I got that refined, I knew I had something that could be a product. But I needed some programming help, because I'm an artist by trade. I used to work for Blue Tongue in Melbourne, and I also worked a company called Relentless in the UK, doing buzz quiz games.
Oh, yes.
So I've been well, I've been an artist for most of my gaming career, I guess. So programming, obviously, things like Unity have since come along, and programming has become a lot more accessible. And I've sort of always been a slightly more technical artist, I guess. So putting that together with substance designer and learning, a bit more about how to, I don't know, just everything about programming. It's been actually really a great learning experience, actually, because I think that the more you understand about the functionality and the technical aspect of game development and how to write code efficiently, and it's a really a great experience to actually sort of to tinker with these things and learn the hard way, make mistakes and break things, and learn how you like to program, and how you like to check the code and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, so that's where it kind of ended up going. I started using Unity because that took a lot of the headache out of it. Was much more effective than say XNA, and it was a lot more. There's a much bigger community, so you could get a lot more assistance. You had a lot of assets that you could buy, a lot of shaders and visual effects and things like that. So already being an artist, in artistic background, I was able to sort of use those, use a lot of the assets and just adapt them, I suppose. Adapt and work with the foundations of these other systems to sort of make something. And so, yeah, I mean, gosh, this was going back all the way back to, it was about 2015, I think. I was sort of getting to the point where I was sort of making some progress with it, but I was still getting other programmers to help from goodwill, and I found that I just could not make a breakthrough, because unless people are 100% invested, and it's hard for people to understand how hard it is to actually make a product, like actually complete and finish something to a standard that people will want to play or want to actually engage with. And so at that point, I had to cut ties with anyone who'd been working on it and take the plunge, basically take the risk, put my own money where my mouth was, and actually invest in hiring someone to help me get the foundations of the product set up. So I went on Facebook and went on to sort of the Brisbane IGDA, I think it is, and the Melbourne one, and I basically set up a post. And if you probably look through the history of it, you might even see that I said, paid job working on this koi pond app, had some art to sort of try and promote it. So yeah, I basically put it out there, and I met a guy called Shane Ripers, who's from Brisbane. He's a student. He just graduated from from QUT, I think it was. And he'd already done a little bit of work. He showed me some of the work he'd done. He was a really, really cool guy. And so we basically we went to what's it called? It was called the River City Labs in Brisbane, which was like it was this sort of I think it was, what's the guy from the Shark Tank? Is it Steve Baxter? I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he set up this little business investment sort of thing. It was called River City Labs. Basically, the idea was you could just go in there and you could have a desk. And you had experts in the field of game development. So I sort of went in there and sort of used that as a kind of a temporary studio, because I was working full time, but I basically was going in there whenever I could make a bit of time. And I was working with Shane, and my wife was helping me as well. So we were writing up on the whiteboard about what we wanted it to do and how it's going to happen and how we were going to monetize it, and what we were going to do with it. I think we probably were in development for about 2 or 3 months, I think it was, thereabouts. And at the end of that time, again, it wasn't full time, it was still part time. But at the end of that, we actually finally had something that was a product that you could actually have some sort of a progression and some form of engagement that you could feed these fish. They would grow. You could have all the sliders and interactions. We sort of limited it down so that it wasn't too overwhelming. It was very simple, but there was nothing else quite like it out there. And we decided to avoid any in-app purchases or freemium kind of game models, in-app, advertising. We just wanted to keep it as simple as possible. And then in 2016, I think it was May 2016, we launched MyCoy version 1, I guess, to the world. We got some pretty good response from it. It wasn't like massive, but we went on to Touch Arcade and announced it on a few different forums and stuff like that. And we had this initial spike of sales, and then it just went and just dropped off. We were just getting like 1 or 2 sales a day, and then it was basically just a matter of me just trying to then use this framework and keep building on it, keep adding to it when I could, and just keep on listening to the community, responding to anyone who was sort of writing back saying, well, wouldn't it be good if you could do this? And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll see if I can do that. And getting testers as well through the Apple test flight. I'd find people who were really passionate about it, and then they would give me feedback. So I just kept on evolving. And then, let me think, I think it was 2018, I think it was thereabouts. It might be 2017, I don't know. I made this crazy idea. I was going to launch it on Mac and try and keep it sort of Apple based, I suppose, because I kind of felt like it was good on the phone, but it was possibly going to be better on a bigger screen, more of a kind of screensavery sort of thing. So I basically, it was a massive headache. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking when they were thinking about the sort of the pipeline from Unity to Mac, but it's an enormously complex process. I feel like I need to, a bit like doing a sort of an Ironman, I feel like I need a tattoo after having completed it. But I went through, I did it, got it working. And I mean, this is a classic story because I just didn't do, there wasn't like a test flight platform, so I couldn't actually test. I couldn't get anyone to sort of easily just try it out and give it a go for a week or something like that, just play it. There was no community sort of to do that. So I just thought, I've got it ready. I'm going to do a soft launch. I'm just going to put this thing out there. I'll let Apple know that I'm doing it, but I'm not really expecting very much. It'll just appear in the store somewhere, and that'll be it. And then I can just work on it and see what happens. And lo and behold, on the launch day, I was in work, and one of my friends, he said, "Your app, it's on the front page of the store." And I was like, "What? What are you talking about? You've been crazy?" And I looked, and it was like global. At the time, they didn't really have any sort of localization for the App Store, and so it was just there on every single country on the front page. And I was like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" So. Yeah, it was like got a really great response, and like initially there was really good sales going on, and the sales just kept on going up and up and up and up and up. And I was sort of like, every day I was going, wow. The next thing I know, I'm getting this feedback now. All my fish, they've all disappeared. They've all been deleted. They've all gone. Yeah. And I'm going, no, like how's this? What have I done? How's this possible? Very fortunately, I had a friend who worked at Unity. Gosh, this is so lucky when you've been in the industry and you've met people. Yeah. So I went straight to them and said, "Hey, look, I've got this this bug. People are losing all their data." And he was like, "Oh, send me a version of the project and I'll have a look." Anyway, it turned out that because I was using Unity Analytics, it was basically creating the persistent data path was being put inside a caches folder. And on a Mac, a caches folder is basically a space which is just there to be purged. Yeah. So it's just redundant space. So any cleaning software on a Mac will just, whenever it runs, it'll just go, "Oh, caches folder," wipe it. So it was a massive bug actually. It was Unity's fault, but I hadn't done any testing to find it in the first place. Yeah. So Mad Dash Unity was trying to fix it on their end, and luckily my mate was able to give me a bit of code to basically force it to not save in the caches folder, to change the persistent data path. Got this patch out as quickly as possible, and the feature went on for almost a month. I don't know. It was there for ages. So it did really well. It got to #1 in the US at the time. It was even, I think, number 3 paid app overall. So like including all of their utility apps and everything else. So that was awesome, but also massively terrifyingly scary at the same time. I wish that Apple had just said, "Hey, would you mind if we just feature this?" And I'd be like, "Crap, test it, like, you know, make more of an effort." But I just thought it was just like, oh, just see what happens, and I'll get a few. I might get 100 people playing it, and it'll be fine. But yeah, it was a massive stress. But the funny thing is about that is that ever since then, I've always thought, well, if I get another feature, on Mac, I'll get some more good sales. But Apple have never featured it since then. It's a great lesson. Like on the Mac at least, on iOS they've been really good. Like being featured, for best updates, or if I have a sale, they put me out. I mean, being featured is just so essential. If you don't have any other kind of marketing, you have to get some sort of a feature so that people can find out about your product.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's been really good. But yeah, so I mean, I've just been tinkering away. Now I'm hoping to launch MyKoi on Steam. I mean, there's so much more I would like to do to it, but I just don't have the time. And so it's just a great idea just to have on another platform and just get a new audience, get more feedback, a bit more money coming in, and hopefully I can then, reinvest that money into either getting more help or, getting some new concepts, new ideas, and take it to another level. I mean, I've got so many ideas. I mean, people are always giving suggestions. I'm going, yeah, I know. There's so much you could do with it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a common thing that I see with a lot of developers where something popular pops up and then the comments, the suggestions are through the roof. And it's like, I'd love to do even at least one of them, but I am so busy trying to live, run a family, or even if I want to implement it, it's going to take some time. And it's interesting because you get all this enthusiasm, and it's a few other developers have said to me in many other different fields that sometimes you're like, oh, no, I need to make them happy, and it's like, oh no, you got to pull up a bit and think about your own sanity, especially. So because you don't want to make something that fits in and doesn't meet expectations.
Yeah, you've kind of like you're trying to juggle. You're trying to prioritize and juggle it, but at the same time, you want to be passionate about it. And there's always there's something that I mean, anyone who finishes, when I say finish, it takes something from concept through to a product that is. I mean, this is the other thing that not many people consider, is that you have to do all of your screenshots and all of your localization and all of the. You've even got to localize the screenshots. I mean, I think when I last did my upload of my assets for iOS, when you've got all of the iPad resolutions and all of the different varying aspect ratios of Apple, I mean, this was a while back. They've since streamlined it, thank God. But I think I had given all my localization, it's somewhere in the region of 150 images that I had to get, with the right content on them, and then uploading them in the process. Oh my goodness, it tear your hair out, like, trying to get all that stuff done. But this is it. You've got to actually finish something. Hats off to anyone who can actually get something to a point where it is playable and it's out there. And that's the biggest hurdle. That you need a lot of drive and passion. You've got to have you've got to really feel like this is worth doing, and when the opportunities, like someone says, oh, do you want to go for a bike ride, or have you seen this thing, you're going to go, no, I've got to get this other thing finished because I don't have any other time to do it. And you've got to make those decisions to just to be grit your teeth and just be determined to get it done. I mean, actually paying someone for me was just a huge, because I've put my own money on the line. This is serious. I don't want this money just to be, set fire to it. And that was the thing that really sort of then made it like, I've got to get this thing done. And when there is a really boring job and you just don't want it, I could do anything else but do another localization. you know, sitting in Google Translate and sort of like checking it, double checking it, making sure that that word isn't reinterpreted something else. Just, I'm being that cheap that I wasn't even like paying someone. And even if you did pay someone, I've got to be honest, even if you go to like something like Fiverr, you can't guarantee that the translation's ever good. Like, you don't actually know. So I mean, unless you pay someone who's reputable, you know. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of it's been a long road. Actually, I have to give a shout as well to Kapow, because they did the audio. I had a really great relationship with Kapow, and they put so much time and energy into. I'm sorry, I paid them, but like, you know, it was like they were really great at actually making this really immersive sound track for Michael. And of course, the time of day changes and there's weather as well. So, you know, you've got this really, and if anyone plays the game, they'll notice an Australian twang to it. You know, hear magpies and certain sounds are very Australian. Although oddly enough, I think koi are actually illegal in most states. I think only New South Wales and maybe, I think South Australia, or is it Perth? I'm not sure, it might be Western Australia, but there's very few places where you can actually keep koi in Australia. But
Really?
so you're not likely to find a koi pond, no. But no, definitely not in Victoria. I don't think they're very any carp are considered. You've got to knock them on the head if you catch one or something. When
Yeah, like I know about that. Yeah, with some introduced species of carp, like in the Murray River and things like that. But
right.
But yeah, going to like it's been a while, but I remember going to the Chinese gardens in Sydney, and there was koi all through there, and even back when they had Australia's Wonderland in Western Sydney, you'd go up to Hanna-Barbera Land, and there was these massive ponds, and there was koi everywhere.
Yes. So I think that's one of the only places where they're kind of tolerated, I think.
Yeah.
And, but I mean, it's a funny thing. I mean, other parts of the world they're revered. You know, I mean, it's one of the funniest things. One of the most difficult times in the project, which is when I was basically just about to take the plunge and invest my own money, and I was really sort of like, I had to sort of like, anyone who'd been helping in the background, I had to sort of like separate and start again. And it was a really hard decision. And I was kind of had all these doubts. I just happened to be in Coffs Harbour at the time.
Oh, yeah.
My family was visiting, and we went on a bit of a road trip down to Coffs Harbour from Brisbane. And I looked in a creek down there, and there was this ginormous koi, this beautiful orange koi carp. And I saw it, and I thought, that's an omen. I've got to do this. I've got to, it was this really difficult point. I'm like, should I do it? Should I do it? I've got to do it. This is an omen. I've got to. I'm just doing stupid things, a bit of serendipity or whatever.
So whereabouts in Coffs Harbour did you see the koi?
Well, I'm not going to give any locations in case someone wants to try and catch it. It was amazing because it was right. It was a creek that must have obviously been fresh water, at the very least brackish. But it was only like maybe 200 meters from the sea.
Oh, so this could be Park Beach.
Could well be, yeah. Could well be, yeah.
Near the pet porpoise pool.
Sorry?
Probably near the pet porpoise pool.
Yes, that would be it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah. It's a long time ago now, but
I'm from Coffs Harbour originally, so know the place quite well.
There you go.
Yeah. That little inlet thing where you were talking about. When I used to go swimming lessons at the Coffs Harbour pool, your friends used to we used to swim around in that little area, and because I remember, it was like $2 to do swimming lessons, and I jumped in the water with it, and it floated away. But yeah, a lot of the whole fishing culture up there with that whole area around Park Beach, and the pet porpoise pool, and also the picnic grounds that are all near out there. But yeah, I'm not surprised that but yeah, that's definitely an omen. So no,
it was amazing. It was such a weird thing to see. It's so out of place and so appropriate to the mood I was in, and but yeah, God, it's been an absolute. My wife and family have been so supportive, through thick and thin, because it is just an enormously just a, you know, like a life challenge. It really is. It's like it's having like an extra child or just something, you know. It's like you're trying to juggle this thing, but it's sort of, it needs attention every now and again, and you can't just let it go. There's another update. You've got to, you know, make sure you fix the bugs and keep everybody. And I'm actually just responding to reviews as well. You know, there's time you spend writing back to people. I mean, often it's not. That's the one thing which has been such a so encouraging. Is even though I mean, like, to be honest, it's not made me that much money at all doing this. You know, it's maybe more than I invested, which is great, but it's not changed my life in any, you know, in any particular way. But it's like the you know, oh gosh, forgotten what I was going to say now. That doesn't matter. I've forgotten. It's just gone out the window. It was. I had something cool to say, but it's just disappeared. I just saw an email just come up from my work computer, and it's just. I'm like, oh. But yeah, no, it's challenging. It's very challenging.
Yeah, but definitely an omen. You know, if it's you're going to do that and you're going to see something that's not supposed to be there, it's definitely the universe telling you you need to go do this. So yeah.
Well, that's right. I mean, there's always so much more I'd love to do. So yeah,
but it you know, enhances the story. It makes it a great story that to see something like that and to add onto it. So it you know, people really connect to things like that.
Yeah, I think so. You know, it's. I mean, I grew up in England, and I mean, my dad's always kept koi, so I've always had that aspect. You know, I've always had fish. I've always been fishing. You know, I've always loved to be outdoors, and there's a very strong connection in my childhood is to sort of be outside. And it's a sort of a bit of a, I guess it's a juxtaposition. I don't know that we sit and we have our phones and we sit in here looking at these little screens when, you know, we really want to be outside. And I mean, that's a hugely, that was what I was going to say. I was going to say about the reviews, wasn't I? Getting reviews was so encouraging. Like when you have someone who writes to you and says, I've been suffering from anxiety. I've had all these massive stresses in my life, and your app has just made me feel, you know, calm. I can escape. And we use that as one of the slogans in the title. It's like, let's collect, grow, escape. And you know, it's kind of collect, grow, nurture, escape. That's right. And then basically, you know, you want it to take you away from your daily life. So that's the other great thing about the sound is if you put the sound in as well, you've got nice big headphones, you sit back and it takes you to another place. So it's just a really nice, I love that aspect of it. And that was the thing. I didn't actually, you know, naturally intend that to be part of it, but it became this outcome that it was just, and so I had many really nice reviews and feedback from people who've you know, just said it's just been, I was going through a really difficult time and it helped me get through. And I'm like, wow, what a, you know, that's such a, an amazing bit of feedback to think that you made something that helped somebody else. And so you don't worry about the monetary part of it. It's kind of like, well, you know, it's a tool for not, you know, for people who've got anxiety.
Yeah, if someone puts a review saying, oh, you know, oh, it was really great, had a lot of fun, but then you get someone who says that, you know, you know, it's life changing, and and I can see by how, you know, enthusiastic you are talking about it. One of the gentlemen I was speaking to yesterday about the feedback he gets on his 3D modeling from some people. Some things are quite heartfelt, and he just it makes, he goes, yeah, and he said the same thing, you know, monetary time put in, he goes, it's like, wow, this is all worthwhile, this is just it's amazing, and how it's touched people in different ways.
Oh, I mean, it's just an outcome you would never plan for, you know. You never think about it as being something that's my goal. It was just an organic thing. It just kind of came out of it, and I think the sound is a really important part of that, as well as the you know, the visuals. I mean, it's that level of immersion. You need to feel like you're somewhere else, and that's what I put a lot of effort into. I mean, it could always be better, you know. There's always ways. But the funny thing is, you're always juggling the hardware capabilities as well. Like, you know, people are sort of saying, oh, why don't you have normal maps and bump maps, and you know, and having more refractive effects and things. And you're going, it's got to work on really basic. I mean, they're not so basic now. You know, they're very powerful now. But like, you know, back in even 4 or 5 years ago, you know, the average device was pretty poor, and so yeah, it's got to be able to run on a very wide range of things. So that's a huge yeah, it's another headache for a developer. Yeah.
Right
Mm.
now, you know, hobbies and interests. Now, like you mentioned, fishing. You know, so you like to fish.
Yeah, no. Ever since I moved to Brisbane, Queensland in 2009, I think the end of 2009, and then we bought a boat. It was one of the first, just before we had kids.
Mm.
Got a tinny, and yeah, I've always loved. I love, you know, just any kind of fishing, just to be out and in nature somewhere. And I mean, there's again another bit of a weird contradiction, really, that I don't like harming animals. I don't think anyone really does, like,
No,
especially if you have any empathy for anything.
yeah,
But for some, like with fishing, I kind of, there's something like, I don't know, it's the mystery of not knowing what's there. If I can see a big fish, you know, there, I get a great deal of excitement seeing it, but I don't necessarily kind of feel like I need. It's this strange thing. You want to sort of almost like touch it. You want to sort of,
yeah,
I don't know, it's like almost like conquering it in some sort of weird way. But at the same time, I'm mostly, unless I'm on the ocean and it's a particular type of fish that is either, like, you know, common and particularly tasty, well, I will,
yeah.
you know, as ethically as possible, dispatch it and take it home to cook it. But you know, for me, it's mainly about being outside, and it's kind of this very I don't know, ancestral kind of, you know, just the hunter gatherer kind of feeling, just to be
Yeah,
out there and to
yeah,
connect and feel like you know, you're not just watching, you're not just trying to catch fish, you're watching the bird life, and you're watching any other, like, you know, turtles, or there might be, you know, if you're lucky to see dolphins, dugongs, you
yeah,
know, in the bay, and
yeah.
it doesn't matter where you are. It's this
Well,
sort
yeah,
of
like yeah, basically,
yeah.
you know, fishing was just basically almost an every weekend thing with my father and you know, everyone else we kind of knew, especially when we lived up near Coffs Harbour. Um, but yeah, you know, they'd go freshwater, saltwater, you know, hand lines, and
Mm.
way out in the ocean, yeah, the fishing was always catching stuff for. Oh, yeah, it was basically dinner. It was like when they
Yeah.
had enough, and was like, okay, that's what. It wasn't like I'm just going to keep catching and catching and catching for the sake of just catching fish. And like they
Yeah.
enjoy fishing, and a
Yeah.
lot of it they like just going to be. Sometimes if it was just sitting in a boat in a river
Mm.
and they're sitting there for hours and it's slightly raining and you could hear the trickling on the
Yeah.
raincoats and everyone's just sitting there really quiet, you know,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
they were like,
Yeah.
they switch it. In many ways, they've just switched off, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and they're just like just relaxing. And then someone catches something, and everyone else is like, "Oh wow!" And then everyone goes back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I used
Yeah.
to, yeah, I used to see a lot of that, you know, fresh water, salt water inland, and then off the rocks, and a lot of places. And yeah, learned a lot about fishing. I learned more about the environment as well as a young age,
Yes.
and
Mm.
watching the tides, and yeah, when things were coming through. I remember we used to fish a lot at this place called Hat Head, which is near
Mm.
Kempsey, and you'd see we'd be on the rocks, and you'd see, you know, my dad's okay, throw in now, and you'd throw in, and then
Mm.
bang, straight away, and then you'd pull the rod back out. You've caught, you know, big fish like this, and then yeah,
Salmon. Yeah. Yeah.
then the dolphins are coming through, and the
Mm.
sharks, and yeah, and on the headland you could watch them doing the circuit all day because they're chasing the fish. So we'd be
Yeah.
watching that, and you could almost go, all right, look, we've zopped in, zopped out. Okay, let's wait a few minutes because they're going to come through now, and we don't want to catch them. Of course, you know, we don't want to harm the, you know, dolphins as well.
Mm.
So, and you'd watch them all go by, and you'd be like, wow, look at them. And then yeah, you'd wait a while, and you go, right, they're coming around again. So yeah, we'd do our
Mm.
catch, and you know, you'd come back, and you're scaling and doing everything else, and you know, the boat ramp, and you know, if you ever,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
if you
whole
ever go
part of it.
fishing down Coffs Harbour way, yeah, you go down a bit further, those places where it's a little bit more remote, and the
Yeah.
fishing is amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I saw that there's a lot of on the boat ramps and stuff. They have like sometimes they have hooks, like for going out like wide for big pelagic things. I don't know. Like I suppose from older times when killing like marlin and stuff like that were probably a little bit more sort of accepted, I suppose. But I think there's some good deep sea fishing, I think, as well, isn't there? People catch like all kinds of interesting giant things.
But I can remember going out. Yeah, we were that far out. Everywhere you looked, that was just horizon. You couldn't see the Great Dividing Range. You couldn't see anything. You were that far out, and you'd see, oh, there's the Navy. Oh, there's the Navy's coming through this way, and you can see cargo ships, and yeah, you're that far out, and then you're catching, all sorts of fish, and also, getting extremely seasick. So.
Yeah, but that's the excitement, not knowing what you're going to catch. I think that's
Yeah.
again, that's it's like there's some sort of an addiction. You get a bite, and then you're like, I wonder what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I think that there's that definitely it's in human nature. That was originally this whole idea of making this kind of like global fishing. And since then, actually, I believe there's quite a few games on Steam that actually replicate that very concept. If only I'd had a whole team of people that focus on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, it's all good.
Yeah. But okay.
Yeah, no, you never know.
Yeah. Now, also, movies, games.
Yeah.
What have you been watching? What's
Well, I mean, if I think about games, the one game I'm playing the most at the moment is probably Minecraft, and that's just because I have a not just turned 9-year-old son, and my daughter, she's 6, and she loves it too. So they're just getting into that, and it's just a great game. We can play on the land and we just create something together, or we'll go mining together, or we'll do something. And it's just quite a nice little escape. But and oddly enough, I had an old copy of Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, which is a game that was my best ever game job, if I'm honest.
Was that PlayStation 2 or?
Yeah, it was PlayStation 2, Xbox, even GameCube.
Yeah.
And then there was a PC version, and I found an old copy of that. It was really nice to just sit down and let my son play it.
Yeah.
And for him, he played it all the way through until he had a 5-star park. It didn't take him that long, actually.
Okay.
I don't know if Murray Lorden will watch this, but he should have spent more time trying to make it a bit harder and more balanced. But it's still very, very enjoyable. And it was great to see there was a huge community that came out from that game, where a lot of people customize their dinosaurs. So I did a lot of the modeling of the dinosaurs and the animation of the dinosaurs, and it was funny because it was a time in game development where you're less specialized.
Yeah.
You would do a lot more things. So I would animate, I'd model, I'd texture, I would tweak the height of the grass. I would do like the sky, the weather. I would tweak it. I was like really involved in so much of that game. So yeah, it was really that was really enjoyable days. They were just that was when you didn't have any family or anything like that. You just sit. You literally it wasn't a job. You were just there. You get there at, I don't know, you'd be there at 9, but you wouldn't leave until 8 or something. You'd be there for I don't know, you'd be there for like 16 hours if you could. It was sort of and then we play LAN games and stuff, and couldn't imagine that now.
Yeah, that's the That's what I even say to, the young ones I know. I go, yeah, we used to work all day and do this. And then, we'd be still there at 2 o'clock in the morning playing Medal of Honor or
Battlefield.
We'd be playing all those games. And then, we had families and, it's like day ends and you just want to go home and sleep. So
you'd be exhausted. Yeah, you would have mentally, it would be completely, I don't even know if I could manage it now. It's sort of I feel like it's I'm getting old, but no, it's good memories.
What games? You go back to your childhood. What games were big standouts for you?
Oh, for me, I mean the games that really captured my imagination were things like Doom. The first Doom, I just loved the atmosphere. I never forget actually when it came out on PlayStation 1, and I sort of had this big CRT television that had been got from some second-hand shop, and it was huge. And, I thought, this is awesome. And I had the PlayStation 1, and I had the lights turned off and the sound turned up, and that was one of the best you know, when you had the double barrel shotgun and some sort of like, you know, those ball demon thing comes out, and boom.
Yeah.
That was just awesome. That was so good. But apart from that, it was always first person shooters. I always loved. I remember, what's that Jedi Knight game? I remember that one.
Jedi Academy or well, there
Oh,
was Jedi Knight 2.
it was called Jedi Knight, I think it was the first one, and then I'm not sure. Yeah, you had like a lightsaber, you could go dark or light, and,
Yes.
and then you had the land. This is back in my uni days. We played that. Even other classic standouts would be Tomb Raider, the very first Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
I never forget being a uni student and getting that game and playing it for it got me so enthralled and hooked. I think I played it straight through and completed it in 24 hours. I think it was something like that. I played it so much. It was so disappointing when it ended.
Yeah.
And the bit when the T-Rex came out as well, that was really well done, and you were running for your life. And but they were great memories. They were. What else have I played? I remember games. I got into Gran Turismo when it was, you know, I love cars. I like to sort of, that really captured my imagination for a while. And gosh, a lot of beat 'em ups, Tekken. I love Tekken. And what was the other one? Soul Calibur. I used to play a lot of that as well. Yeah. I had the Dreamcast. I played Sega Bass Fishing. So
yes.
I love that.
Oh yes, that's one of the big standouts for the Dreamcast.
Still got it.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've got the fishing rod. It's still in the cupboard. It still works. I got it out about 6 months ago. I tried it out, and I was thinking maybe I should sell this thing. And I got it out.
Nah, hold on to it. Hold on to it. Yeah. So
yeah.
Well, that's the thing is that the Sega Saturn and the Sega Dreamcast, I think, is I think one of the few consoles that really sell for a lot of money secondhand. So it'd be something, I think, if you sold it, you'd probably regret it. So
I reckon, I've got it sort of nestled away in the cupboard. It's actually just in this room, actually. Yeah. In the cupboard. Yeah, but it's that's pretty that was pretty cool. Yeah. So I liked all those sort of games, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of any other ones. I'm sure there's some more that stand out, but yeah, I've played a lot of games. Yeah, on Battlefield, Battlefield 2. I got once they had the online stats and stuff, and you had your online profile, I got so addicted to that.
Yeah,
the scary thing was you looked at how many hours you played, and I think I got to 250 something hours, and then I thought that's a bit crazy. And when I was about to leave Bluetone and I was heading back to the UK, I basically said I'm not playing it anymore. I made this decision. I'm just leaving it behind. That's enough. And do you know what? And the saddest thing was I never played another game.
Right.
Like not another game, but like another online competitive game. That was the last time
Well, my copy of Battlefield 2 is just in the cupboard, just here, PC version.
Yeah, right.
Still got it because we played a lot of it online with friends, and then we moved over to Battlefield 2142.
Right.
So that got a lot of that, but they're just in the cupboard just here. So it was one of the last kind of probably PC LAN games or PC online games that we invested a huge amount of energy on. So talking about all on TeamSpeak or whatever it is at for hours and hours and hours and hours. So because that was the move away from original Counter-Strike to these ones, and it was the whole thing of like, what, you can hop in planes and there's boats and
Oh, that was so good. The helicopters and I loved it. You had a co-pilot. We had the guy with the guided missile and trying to find a Black Hawk helicopter that was full of people, so you get all the kills. Like it was like just trying to hunt targets, and I used to love that. And being an engineer, I used to love getting in tanks. But when we played it at Bluetone, and we would have maybe about 12 of us playing, and we'd all be in the same room, so we'd all be just communicating, just calling out. And if we all ended up on the same team, we could be really sort of an effective force to be reckoned with. It was quite, it was so much fun. Yeah, so much fun. It was a really good times they were. Yeah, I can't believe that was over 10 years ago.
It's way over probably 10, 15.
Over 10, 15 years even. Yeah. Gosh, yeah.
It goes quickly.
Where'd the time go?
Oh, well, thank you very much for all your time today. For those people who are watching this through the TGF stream, we're going to have links available on the TGF social media, so you can check out all the sites and especially the game on Steam. And if you're watching this through the Cause and Effect Gamers YouTube, we'll be doing the same thing. We'll be putting all that information there, so you can go directly to the source and check out everything that he's currently doing and things that are happening into the future. So it was a pleasure to talk to you. It was a great having a talk. It's funny because it's like many people I've been talking to, it's like, hang on, sounds like we used to hang out. So, similar timelines, similar interests and similar things that go through. Yeah, but
I'm good at rambling.
But I'm sure everyone will find this really, really interesting and insightful and everything else. So on many levels. So, but yeah, I'd like to say, on behalf of TGF and also Cause and Effect Gamers, thank you very much for being a part of this.
Well, thanks for having me. No, it's been fun. It's good to chat. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers, Andrew.